Ah, lucky you. You're down in my garage. Okay, so I started doing this sword. I got a little bit ahead of myself and started cutting the wood, and then I realized I was making a movie. So anyway, I'm not naked, I'm wearing clothes. But anyway, so I'm gonna turn around and show you what I've done so far. And then once I take it upstairs, then I'll kind of be able to record myself, do it from start to finish and do a little commentary and whatnot. Okay, so here we go, I'm gonna turn this around. So I had this piece of wood that I found in the forest by our house. I ended up chopping it up and then slicing it with an axe to make it thinner. And then from there on, I started whittling it. So I have this knife that is, I don't know what Snicks, but it says SOG. So if you know what SOG is, then you know what kind of knife to get. Anyway, this knife was great. It was really nice and sharp. So I started whittling it down. My piece of wood wasn't thick enough, so I ended up doing two pieces together, and then I'm just going to glue it and spackle it and then sand it down anyway. But this is the beginning of it. It's just, like I said, just a piece of wood that I found in a forest, and it wasn't really hard to do the indentations. It was just like a rocking motion in and then a rocking motion from the other side. Anyway, so that's what we have so far in this big mess. I'm going to clean it up and then go upstairs. Goodbye.
Oh man, this is the best part, sanding this stupid dagger. Once again, it took me forever. I cut down the video immensely, so you did not have to watch me do it for 2 hours. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but use the largest grid to the smallest grid till it's nice and smooth. Glue the two pieces together. If your piece is one, then you'll get to skip this step and the next step, which is spackling those holes shut. Once it dries, I sanded it again and then cleaned up kind of the edges where I thought was kind of a little bit sharp from where I had dug out like the rigid of the dagger part. But do the best you can, really. I primed it with white paint. This is Craft Smart paint. I think I bought it at Michael's. It was like $3 and the bottle's pretty big, so it's lasted me quite a while. Then I used the same silver paint as the Star-Lord mask, so that was nice that it came in handy twice. And I did do 2 coats. I would assume the more coats the better. I did 2, but that's because I'm lazy and half the time I don't even wait for the paint to dry. So do the best you can. I used that same process with the dry brushing to kind of clean up those edges to make them look a little bit more rustic again. You don't have to, and if you don't know what dry brushing is, then go and look it up. It's a really simple, easy way to I guess step up the notch when you are painting like metal typed objects. Just makes it have that dirty look. Then I started doing the actual dagger detailing. This video of the actually me painting on the face of the dagger is quite long, so if you don't want to watch it, you can skip to the end, but really I included it because I had a hard time figuring out what design to do, and I looked at so many different pictures and they're all like a little bit different from other people's renditions. But do your best. My phone just went off. Oh, it's Jody. Anyway, do your best. The only part that I am going to say that you need to really watch on is when I looked at pictures online when they were writing in the actual Emma name, some of the A's in the Emma and the Swan were like actual what you'd think an A would look like. But the dagger in the movie or in the show is kind of like an R looking shape. You'll see when I do it on the Emma in here. I do apologize because the video did cut out once again before I could write down the swan, but I'll show you the full thing before I start doing the back side. But then you can kind of take a look at how I did the A's. That I felt was really important just because it makes it more like to the show, I would say. Anyway, good luck! slow-mo. So you can see that A. I hope you saw it. It looked like an R, kind of. You can always go back and push pause. Next up, I painted the backside, which I got off another picture, which wasn't from the first picture, so it's a little bit different. I wasn't a big fan of this pattern, but I didn't really realize that it wasn't a legit picture until halfway through. And then I'm like, I'll just leave it. Who cares? No one looks at the back anyway. But I went along with that picture. You can follow mine or you can try to find your own. I don't know if this is actually what it looks like. And as you can tell, I didn't line the outside first because, once again, it was a bad picture. I should have picked something else for sure. So I do not claim to be an artist, but I did do some like darker blacks, lines and whatnot within the actual spots to make them look like they had more depth to them, that they weren't just painted onto a wooden stick. If you know about shadowing, that's great. I don't really, but it turned out kind of nice in the end, so it's all good. So this was the best find. This candlestick gold thing that I'm working with, I actually got that at a thrift store for $1. It was like some brass candle, I don't know, holder, and I ran over the end with my car and I squished it. So that was very eventful, and now I was able to make it into the actual dagger. I bought it with intentions of doing it, but it was hard to figure out how to get that end flat to make it so the actual wood could go into it. Right now I am covering the thinner parts with felt so I can make it a thicker, more solid bar, and then covering it with leather. The leather I just cut in strips and then wrapped it around. It wasn't anything fancy and it didn't really look that nice. They were leather scraps, but I just kind of wrapped them all the way around and then took a thinner string and kind of went the opposite direction just to kind of give it more depth as well. You can kind of test around with that, but you'll see what works for you, right? The dagger itself, I stuck in that hole that I smushed and then just kind of glued it in. I did the best I could. Really, I'm sure if someone were to pull on it, it would fall out. Next up, that's that cardboard stock. This is going so fast. That cardboard stock stuff that I already had bought for the mask, and I cut it into a circle, put it on there, and then I was covering it with leather because it does have a top handle portion to it in the show. The way I did this is I just used scraps again and did on the top, did on the bottom. It kind of looked like an Oreo. You'll see once I cut that off. And then I took a strand and then went all around the outside to kind of clean it up. It looks great. It turned out really nice. God, my computer's terrible. It cut me out. Stupid thing. Anyway, see, it looks like a cookie. And then I just took a thin strap and put it around the inside just to cover up the white. Next up, these were buttons that I actually had. You always keep buttons. I'm like such an old lady when it comes to keeping stuff like this. I have like 1,000 buttons and you never know when you're going to use them. I had to burn off the inside little plastic piece that you stitch on the clothes with. It was sticking out too far, so I burnt it and then cut it off. Please, if you're young and, you know, trying to do this at home, don't burn your house down and don't be an idiot. I had a well-ventilated room, so it was good at my house. So just clean up those extra spots. All the brass and stuff I covered up with black, and that base I covered up with black, any white glue that was hanging out, and it was done!
I don't really have a really good evil face, so there it is. My Emma Swan dagger. I mean, obviously it's not metal, so it's not going to be absolutely amazing, but for what it's worth, it cost me next to nothing to make. I think it actually cost me $1 to make, so there you go. Can't beat that. The only thing that cost me money was this end that was actually like a candlestick thing, a copper, that I kind of squished the tip of it, and then that was to give it some weight. But other than that, the wood I found in the forest, it was dead, and I brought it in, I sanded it up and hacked it down to the size I wanted. The paint I had, these were just buttons that I found. Always keep these things, and not like to the hoarding extent, but keep them because they come in handy. And then the leather, which I had already from years and years ago when I made a quiver. But other than that, there she blows, my Emma Swan Dagger. And now I am set to be the new dark one at D23. So thanks for watching. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.